Here at Destination Gym, we have such an incredible day lined up for each and every one of you attending today. We have an educational seminar taking you through the training principles of bodybuilding, taking you through intensity and execution, and what is important to make sure that you are building an elite physique. Next segment, we have gone through a training session practical, where Jack took them through an upper session and I myself took them through a lower body session, finishing off with a group posing session. I just want to say a massive thank you to Illegal Nutrition, Monster Factory, of course Destination, and for all the goodies and for enabling us to put on this event here today. Incorporating old school mentality with new age refinement, building a day to bring you to an elite level, master and refine.
That's what this is about. Simply put, we're trying to do the things that work, repeat them, progress them, sustain them.
I know that that set there, I'm actually going to be able to take it as far as possible.
Trick your brain into thinking, right, I only need to move it with this particular muscle.
A lot of the time they use the top set as the set. They give that top set the all, and their back off set is exactly that. They back off. Control, and drive out. Really good, mate, and rack.
Up, again. Still more. Yes, one more. Nice.
We will be doing a fundamentals of bodybuilding seminar, all right? That will take us around to just after 5, and then we will be splitting into 2 little training segments, okay? So the first one, or my one, okay, I'll be taking you through a leg day where I'll explain it a little bit more when we do go into that, but we'll be going through a full leg day from mobility, etc., looking at how you guys may actually have any issues, injuries, etc. Or of course, Jack will be taking you through, if you want to explain your little bit.
Yeah, so I'll be doing, I'm going to expand it to more upper training. I was thinking specifically back, obviously that's more of an intricate area to train, but the main thing that I want to do is provide value for you guys. So if there's an area of upper training that you're like, I don't know how to connect to my chest, or I've got a pain on my shoulder when I press, or my back isn't growing, my arms are growing. So that's the type of problem solving that we're going to be doing. Focus on the execution and also as well as the intensity, which is big theme of what this presentation is going to be about, is just blending everything together, and then we're going to be putting that into practice straight after as well. Yes,
perfect. So then our final segment is going to be a little posing seminar. So we do want it to be more of a give and take, shout out anything. Yeah? Okay, maybe do a little hand so that, because we've got ADHD to fuck, so we'll lose our track of thought.
Yeah. As long as you've got the mindset of this is a process, a long game. A lot of people are coming to this is like, I want to be stage ready and win shows in 8, 12 weeks. And it's like, okay, maybe we expand that a little bit. But, it's about enjoying it. And today we're going to be giving you some pretty cool tips to fast track that as well.
Exactly that. Perfect. So we will dive straight into it.
Anything new is bad. And then the opposite, there's a lot of people that will just base themselves on studies and not actually look at anything anecdotal. But the secret behind ultimate progress is somewhere in the middle, right? And we need to know what blend that is. What are we going to be listening to? What's outdated? What is useful new information that we can implement right now and pretty much allow us to enhance our training. But again, we don't want to look at tools that we're using as excuses to work less hard, and make it a lot easier. We want to allow it to work harder. And that is what's getting lost in today's new style of training, is a lot of people are losing that nitty gritty because they're focusing on ways to make it easy within the process. A lot of people are going to be trying a lot of novelty. They're not really going to be spending a lot of time mastering movements. And from there, they're not actually going to be on track to make a good amount of progress. Obviously, the aim of what we wanted to do with training is have a repeatable system that we could be progressive with and do the things that work. That's what this is about. Simply put, we're trying to do the things that work, repeat them, progress them, sustain them, stay injury free, and make as much progress as we physically can. So if we cut out the bullshit and then we focus on the things that work, we understand them, then we can do exactly that.
I've spoken to individuals previously where they've said, oh, I love this exercise. And I'm like, do you love this exercise because you can lift X on it? And if that is the case, you need to look at, is it that you can just lift a heavy number and that's why you love it? Or actually are you getting enough out of it? So for example, there was this certain hack squat that it was very, very short ROM, and I had to be very honest with the client and said, look, the reason you love it is because you're doing 3 plates a side, right? But, right, and for the gram, and I'm seeing the fact that this isn't stimulating you enough. So we have to move exercise to something that might actually affect the ego. You may have to drop, but you're going to get a lot more stimulus from it. So it's very easy to kind of choose an exercise that you are going to be able to lift more on, because it gets you excited and it feeds you a bit, but it's about thinking about the physique development.
The pump is going to build muscle, right? If you chase the pump, you've got to build muscle, which is not true, right? You want to be able to apply sufficient tension on the muscle, so it's got to be heavy enough. You've got to go for enough reps so you are within the proximity of failure, but you've also got to be accurate enough so that the tension is on the muscle, right? So for this to apply, when you are approaching movements, you don't want movements to be advantageous, right? Mechanically. You don't want to get onto a movement and try to make it as easy as possible to lift the weight. You actually want to make it as hard as possible.
Press slide 5.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing. And yeah, this is
so
a leg extension.
A leg extension is an example, another example that we could use. With that, we want to keep tension on the quad. We can see that we're not swinging it here. There is a nice stable setup. You know, you don't want to, like, I used to love barbell squats. I used to love deadlifts. I used to love these movements, but I noticed that I got to a certain point in my training, it was hurting me, you know, and I had to be wise with picking things that kept the tension on the muscle, but were also challenging enough. So it's about having a variety. So I swapped out the barbell squat for a hack squat where, you know, it's going to isolate the quads more, but also keep me stable so I'm not in a position where I'm leaning over, I'm using a lot of energy to stabilize these movements. But also it's making sure that you order these things correctly. You know, some people may put in things that are, you know, to load them up are a bit painful towards the end, like Hannah has done. So this is where, to get the most out of our training, we want to select movements that are great at isolating, but also challenging enough in the right sequence. And that's going to be very individual for the person.
If I've done my desired sets that are set out on my logbook and I'm like, yeah, I could still get a little bit more out of this, I will add in a couple of partials as well. So sometimes, you know, you've got the ability to actually make those decisions on the day, etc. If you feel like you can push yourself that little bit more, I personally do that. I can recover from that. I'm going to add in all these sets, and then the next week or so you end up getting 3 hours sleep, your meal timings are off, you're not hydrated, things like that. Then there's absolutely 0 point, because there is a limit, you know. Yes, you may not feel it initially. You may do those sessions and be like, oh yeah, I can definitely have this volume, and it may hit you in then 2 weeks. So when I made those initial changes, and I do talk about this sometimes, of like finding that red line. I personally believe everyone should try and find that red line. I mean, I stole that from Nat, I'll be honest, but he's in the corner.
That's much like the failure principle.
When you're trying to find that red line, it is important, because you want to be trying to see, where can I go? What's the furthest I can go before it is a little bit too much, and then you can pull it back. Like Jack said, you want to start low, add them in, and then you will find that red line.
You can probably get away with removing a set or two in your training and still have a cracking session and live to fight, you know, the next day. And that's what we want, because sometimes we could go in and go, no, I'm not a bitch, and then try to fight through it, and then the next session is not great. It's not optimal, right? It's not ideal. So that's when your body is signaling, probably over a couple of sessions, that, hey, I'm not feeling it today. Again, if you're feeling great towards the end of your session, this isn't when you go in, it's like, oh, I feel great, cool, drop sets on everything. You know, towards the end, you could probably seep in a little bit. Now, to find where your volume needs to be. I would always recommend starting low and then creeping up. If you're able to progress, you're recovering fine, and you're not feeling achy, and you're not needing to take time off from the gym, manage your fatigue, you can add in sets. The best place to add in sets at the end of your workout, right? So it's not affecting any following sets. So then you're going to find eventually a maximum recoverable volume. That's going to take time. That will increase
Patience.
if you are very efficient with your training. So again, the quality's there, but also your recovery outside of the gym is absolutely spot on.
In off season, I'm finding my rest periods to be a little bit longer, simply because I'm lifting so much more load.
Also
amount of fucking breath.
No,
I'm fine, I'm fit. So you need the longer rest periods, okay? Like, you're not here for our high rocks, we're here for actual hypertrophy. So you need to be able to rest, to be able to do a productive set. If you're going already into that set, already out of breath from the previous set, what are you going to do? Say if you're doing single leg, single arm work, and you're not resting between that, it's not just about the breath, it's even the central nervous system. You need to give yourself at least 30 seconds if you've just finished your one arm, especially if you've taken that one arm all the way. Give yourself 30 seconds at least before going into the second arm.
This is how I like to sequence it, is get on a movement, establish a good feel for it, establish, actually connecting for the muscle, get efficient at it, then track your movement. Standardize it, find out how you should be doing it, standardize it, track it over weeks. This takes me to one of my favorite ways to actually track progressions with clients that I'm working with, and it really served me very well for a long time. And that's, a top set and a back off set. This was made popular by Mr. JP, right? Yeah. And essentially, this is a way of doing it. It is not gospel. You've got to do it in this way. But a top set is a heavy set, and a back off set is a lighter set with more reps, okay? So you don't have to do it heavy then light. You can do light then heavy. You don't have to do just 2 sets. Establishing your rep range within those sets. This allows you to train at different rep ranges as well and get efficient at them. So say you're hitting 9 reps in one, okay? What you could do is you're waiting until you hit, 6 to 9 reps in one. You're waiting until you get to the 9th rep before you add a little bit of weight. Once you've done that, then you can increase it, and if your reps go down, cool, hold on to that weight. If they're going up, or if they stay the same, you can add a little bit more weight. And this keeps you accountable to not being greedy and taking progressions before you're ready. What you could also do, another way of doing it, is start with a high rep first, and then keep the weight the same that you've lifted, and that can automatically turn into a low rep set. So there's different ways of setting this up, but if you have this rule of I will establish a rep range that I want and fail within that rep range. This isn't just getting to 9 reps, the end of the rep range, and you're like, woof, done it, complete the set.
Yeah.
The rep range is just going to be guidance. You want to fail within that rep range. Once you've hit the end of the rep range, add a little bit more weight. And that, again, allows you to keep accountable to making sure that the progressions are true progressions to the gym, signaling that you've already gained the muscle.
A lot of the time they use the top set as the set. They give that top set the all, and their back off set is exactly that. They back off and they do pretty half-assed with it. Okay, if that is you have to be honest with yourself, and I recommend just doing straight sets because each set matters. The top set and the back off set should have the same amount of intensity.
Maximum
they
output.
just have, exactly, maximum outcome. They're there to have the most stimulus possible. It's just allowing you to take them slightly differently. I personally love a top set and back off because I do like to test a little bit of a heavier weight at times, and that allows me to kind of do that. And say if I do get maybe a 6 in that top set, then I'm like, okay, let's now do a 15 rep, and I know that I'm getting a good amount of stimulus from that. I used to be terrible for it. I used to stick my bum out in every exercise, right? And it's really easy to do because, especially if you're videoing things, even for yourself, I don't want to look at a video where I'm neutral pelvis and no ass, shriveled. So it's remembering though that that neutral spine is so important for the alignment of everything else. Okay, now, again, gentlemen, maybe a little bit weird for you, but this is something that I have personally found absolutely crucial. Okay, so you're gonna lie on your back and feet flat. Now this may seem extremely easy for you girls, but I can lift heavy fucking weight, but then we're gonna do this exercise and it actually kind of cripples me. So what we're gonna do, if you watch once and then I'm gonna help you. Now, your hands are gonna stay here and you're gonna drive the glutes up to a glute bridge, but it's not gonna be a throw. You actually wanna actively take that extremely slow. Like, I won't lie, they're already shaking. But you wanna enable the knees to stay where they are. Your knees don't wanna come forwards and backwards, okay? And just put the arms flat for me, that's it. Good, try and don't move the leg. So you don't wanna start swinging the leg up and down. Good, Keith, and then we're gonna swap legs.
So, what we're looking at, as discussed before, is this arm path being down and across. So you've got a nice tuck here. Obviously, you're feeling it in your shoulders more. So, we want to get to a point about there. The active range of tension is what we're focusing on. Okay? We want to practice it to a point where we become efficient and pattern that range of movement. Quite often, we get to a point where we're getting, we half-arse the warm-ups and then we go into the working sets. It's hard to break old habits if you're feeling it in your shoulder, if you don't pattern it in this way and humble yourself. And we want to restrict the range of movement so nothing gets taken over. About there, okay? Lovely, okay. So if you want to tuck in your elbows, yep. So what's going to help is tucking your wrist in, all right? And bringing those, because that's going to help track your elbows inwards. So if you go with a more neutral grip, okay? And then if you focus on bringing it across to my hands as you come up, yep. So again, we're trying to bring that upper arm around your chest. There we go. So there we go. We're just pressing a little bit wide, but this is good. And then we go up to here. There we go. Yes. There you go. Perfect. That was a perfect press. So we just want to repeat that now. There we go. Cool. And just bring them in nice. You want your elbows to be nice and close. There you go. Like they're trying to headbutt each other. Activation. A lot more activation there, right? You see that? There's a lot more activation. You know, your shoulder will take over. You'll be like that. Just stop the set. Because you're trying to ingrain a skill. Once you've done that, you've become efficient. That's where true progression starts, right? That's what we mentioned before. So we want to get into the habit of becoming efficient with the skill, the active range of tension on the muscle, align ourselves properly, biomechanically to be able to do that, the right range of motion, and then become efficient at that, and then we can build up. That's going to take just stripping the weight and being patient. So when a muscle's so used to getting taken over, you've got to unlearn bad habits and create new ones, right? That's hard. That's not like learning habits straight away. That's it. Keep your arm and straight up. Up. Yes. Yes. So say to the camera how fucking mint you feel. Fucking mint.
Some people like to lean forwards. I am very much against that. I personally believe if you are leaning back on the machine, you're actually allowing the quads to do, the hamstrings, cut that out. The hamstrings to do the actual work, okay? So from this position, you're gonna push through here. The reason why you're gonna push through here is because it's gonna keep you back, okay? I mean, you could also push through there. Hold on to that, push through that. I recommend pushing onto this if you've almost got maybe like the one above and it's like not tight here. But if you go too loose and your legs are not pushing against here, then it's not gonna have the same effect at all. And from this moment, similar to what I've discussed on the abductor, etc., catch the weight first. So I'm actually holding this in my hamstrings before the rep even starts. I'm pushing in so that my contact points are locked in, my back is straight, I'm not gonna stick out my chest. This is something that's really easy to do, is when you start to do a movement that's difficult, you start to kind of push through the chest, just in order to lift it, and your back comes off, yeah? You wanna make sure that that core actually stays so tight. And something we spoke about stacked, you're gonna keep those ribs stacked. So I have to actively turn my left foot before dragging down. And honestly, it burns from the get-go because of how many years of me not doing that, okay? So when the set starts to get hard, again, you wanna make sure you just stay locked in and you drive that down. Make sure you're not moving the body with it, because again, yes, you may get the rep, but what is that rep worth? Yeah, now you're fully locked in, either here or here. Personally, I hold here because also that hurts. So you're going knees and then ankles. So you wanna make sure, if we pop that back up, so you're gonna push down first, that's it. And then you're making sure that your ankles are like in line with those knees. Now, it's not always necessary. You do see people take their feet quite wide and it works extremely well. But for you, your whole leg wasn't wide. It was your knees were all the way in and then it went out of the shins. So you were almost internally rotating the knees just to get those ankles out, okay? So from here now, I'm gonna make sure those feet are nice and like equal, which obviously is extremely alien within this foot, right? And then just imagine you've got a piece of cord and you're pulling through here, yeah? So that drag. Better, better, good.
Because a lot of people are very, and I've gotten to this point, right, a little bit snobby with the equipment. It's like, oh, it's not this brand. Okay, cool, don't wanna see it. You know, and it's like, if you're not in that gym, in that environment, you don't have access to it, it's not great. But realistically, you can get a lot from a cable stack. And especially with back training, and it's very fiddly back training is. So I'm just gonna show you a couple of movements, and this won't go on forever, but yeah, we're gonna go with a couple of movements that you can literally train at any gym. Elbows are going down to your hips, right? Much like with your chest, you're trying to bring your upper arm across your body. This, we're trying to think how the lat moves. This down to your hips. It moves at a diagonal motion, up and down, right? Again, we want to be conscious of the active range that we use, the active range of tension. We don't want to go so far down where we're like this, or we don't want to go into a dead hang. How you position your hand will help track your arm, okay? So we want a neutral grip with this, right? So we want to make sure neutral or underhand, because that's going to stop it from going out. That's where people are going to be using all the muscle groups to get involved. So you want to keep yourself nice and stable. You can hold on to here. Again, this is going to be different from person to person. And then literally, all you're doing, bringing that down, okay? I'm keeping my hand underneath, keeping my elbow close. That's got to be close. And I'm sort of scooping down, right? So I'm actually going in this motion. I'm not even going straight down. I'm going into a scooping motion. This gives a better alignment to hit the lat, stretch it out. By having the hand under, we limit the stretch so it doesn't go into a dead hang. Your shoulder lifts up and the tension comes off the lat. So we keep it on throughout. So if you curve down, so you're literally curving down right to there, okay? The shoulder is just popped forwards there. That's what we want to avoid. So if you go back up, we go down to my hand, that's it. That's it.
But you want to take your feet as low as possible. And the reason for that is, like I mentioned, the stretch at that position, okay? When you're going into a machine such as a hack squat, you can think about, similar with the seated ham, about those contact points. So here, you're going to keep the shoulders pushed against those shoulder pads, okay? What you don't want to think about is almost curving. There used to be a bit of a theme about people curving in the back here. Now, I'm not going to say like one size fits all, and it can be beneficial for certain individuals, especially if they do have injuries. But say if you're a normal individual and you end up doing this, a lot of the time you're going to squat and just be like basically doing this with your back. You're almost going to be doing a hyperextension. So from here now, that core, I'm literally imagining someone is doing this, right? That is locked. I can still breathe through it. Now, how do we breathe through a rep? You want to breathe in on the way down and out on the way up. So from here, you're going to unrack. I personally would hold on to here to actually give yourself a little bit of tension. Think about that core. I would actually like use and hold that weight. Can you see how I'm actually like, okay, I've got that weight. Now my next contact point are my feet. So those feet are pushing through the floor. Now my chin is not gonna be down here, because again, that's gonna allow my back to come into it. So I took my chin slightly, but my head stays back, and I'm thinking about the pressure through the heels, and my core stays locked in here. So down, think about the back against the pad. From here, drive on up. Your knees do start to cave in. That is gonna cause quite large, significant issues everywhere, especially if, Keith, your feet even start to roll in. So think about your whole foot being planted, okay? Think about from the knees now, you're driving slightly out through those knees as your core is staying so tight, locked in, back is against that pad. Breathe in, hold the breath, breathe out, okay? Now, the reason why I say hold the breath at that point, similar to, I guess, like a power lifter perspective, when you hold your breath at that last kind of second there, you're gonna be able to brace. I personally don't use belts in any of my training. Not saying that you shouldn't, but I rely on myself. I do think when you use belts, it's very easy to start just going against them, and then you're bending your back a lot. Whereas if you're so locked into actually just using your own core, it's gonna help you through every movement. Else you're gonna have to start incorporating a belt in fucking shoulder press, which you do see. Control, control, and drive out. Really good, mate, and rack. Good, that's it. Lovely, you're all in.
So we wanna open up to hit that, yep, lovely, and then pull back. Shoulders protract, and then retract. Lovely. That's it. That's it. And finish with that chest high. That was a very good cue. Yep. Lovely. So depress. Yes, that's it. Big difference with this movement is the shoulder is moving. If you're trying to hit the lats, the shoulders are going to be staying the same. Lovely. Lovely. How does that feel?
Great.
Cool? You feel your mid-back better? Lovely. Let's do a working set. Nice stretch. This is perfect, mate. Yep. It's the exact way to train the lower back, is you're literally shrugging these back. Okay? And again. Yes. And again. Let's practice those partials now. We're just literally shrugging back. Yes. Again. Shrug the shoulders back. Yes. Again. Come on. Drive. Yes. Again. Up, 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 up. Again. There's still more. Yes. One more. Nice. There you go. There you go. And that is like the partials, right? In the mid-back.
Here, instead of moving this leg, because then this is like random and stuck, you're going to step with this one, lift, and be able to adjust here. So we're here or here. Yeah? You're gonna go left foot and then lift. Yeah? And that should allow you to really push from here. So if you're currently here, and then obviously you like move the hair if you need to, if you step and you take your glutes with you, you're going to fall. Right? Whereas if you're here, you keep those glutes behind you, then you're gonna keep stability. It's all weight distribution. If there's ever a part where you're a little bit wobbly, we'll look at weight distribution, yeah? Making sure the glutes are pretty much behind you at all times, because you're on your tiptoes right now, right? So if you thrust through on your tiptoes, you're gonna drop forward. The reason why that we keep the elbows close in a lot of these poses that you're probably noticing that I'm asking Michaela to do, if you imagine, if you take your elbows really wide, you think, oh, I'm so wide, right? A lot of the time, you just look like you're doing a rear delt row. So when you're doing any kind of flare, if your arms are closer to you, there's less gap. If your arms are further away, there's a massive gap. So if there's a massive gap, it's gonna just look like there should be more muscle there, right? So keep the arms closer so there's not a massive gap, and then you're able to present a much more complete frame, okay? And then you can see here, she's actually activated the lats instead of if you just raise the elbows again, like take them further away. Yeah, and then you don't see it or feel it even, yeah? So then tuck the elbows back in, good, and drop the hands. And then you're gonna lift from this portion and quarter turn. From there, think about pinching slightly in that back. If you pinch, then you're gonna lift through the chest. So like here, Yeah, good, lovely.
You gotta remember is when you're posing, you're not posing to the mirror right here. You're posing to a judge right here, okay? So you wanna pose right there. Because if you're trying to pose upright, that will skew the judge's perspective. Posing is about the perception, it's about creating an illusion, right? So you've got to pose in a way where you're creating the best illusion with your physique. And that is going to be how you will angle yourself at the poses, and this is why I'm saying pop your hips back. That's going to make your waist smaller, and then open up, pose like that. It's going to feel a little bit silly, but that is what's going to give you the best point of view to the judges. You want to keep your chest high as well, okay? Lovely, lovely, okay? All right, cool. If you can, fists in, open up as much as possible. Yeah, so that down. Yep, cool. And then keep that on. So you pop the hips back just a touch more. You want to set yourself up, okay? So tense your legs first. You're bringing these in like you're pushing through the floor, like you're trying to do a hamstring curl, but the floor is stopping you, right? You're pushing through. Yeah, exactly. Boom. And then, very similar to the front double. So yours is fucking phenomenal, mate. Right? This is great. Let's see that just lower. I'm just curious. Nope, that's fine. You've nailed it, mate. Right, cool. I'll be asking for tips on that. First, again, the off season, we just want to create the shape because we can't see the details that are going to be on stage because you'll be tensing differently by the time you got on stage. And you don't want to be tensing like, you just want to get the flow, the shape there. Once you've created that, you can just add on to it as detail comes, like that way. Yep, and then, that's it. Boom, boom. And then there's a couple more you could do. You could do a fucking crab, or you could do, a lot of the time, most musculars are, they do a transition. Let's see that, like, I like that, I like that. Okay, cool. So you've got those two poses in your arsenal there. Right, number 7.
Lucky number 7.
Hey. Number 4. Ladies and gentlemen, for the illegal nutrition supplement line worth over £100, can we have a drum roll, please? Oh yeah! 3, 2, 1. Number 2. You've already done it. Okay. Really held attention, right? Number 9. Well done, bro. Well done. I really hope there's been a lot of value that you guys can take home from this. The aim with me and Hannah was to give you tools that you can implement straight away so you can then progress your physique better, whether that's being a competitor or just really just honing in on your own physique development. Really wanted to make sure that you guys have an elite experience so you guys can then put it into an elite physique. So thank you very much for coming, guys. Thank you. And that is it for the Elite Physique Masterclass. I want a special thank you for everyone who joined, and a special thank you to Destination Gym for allowing us to host it here. This one was the first of hopefully many. This was a great success. Everyone got a lot of value and it was an absolute pleasure giving it. The presentation, people were making notes, they were asking questions, listening, soaking all the information in, and we applied it in the training, and there was so much passion there. And by the time we got to the posing, people were so eager to just display their physique in the best way possible. And it was an absolute honor to be able to run it. So special thanks once again for Destination allowing us to host it, for Illegal and Munster sponsoring it. Until next time, peace.